Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Arthur and you're watching Dirt Hammers Off-Road. Hey, today we're going to show you how to maintain and do a little maintenance to RS9000XL adjustable shocks by Rancho. So make sure you like the video, make sure you drop a comment below. We're going to jump right into this, and hey, thanks for watching. Okay, so the maintenance that we're going to perform on the Rancho RS9000XL shock is we're going to perform some maintenance to the adjustment knob that's on the bottom of the shock. And the reason being is that area is kind of prone to getting some moisture and water in there. There is a small gasket, but the shocks have been on this Jeep for over a year. I already did the front, and already the front had some moisture that had gotten in there. And what we want to do is we want to kind of clean that up. We want to lubricate the knob itself. I mean, it is a plastic knob, it is replaceable. I'll drop a link down below where you can buy some replacement ones. They're like, I don't know, $6. So it's a good idea to have a couple of those if you break them. But we're going to remove this, we're going to clean it up, and I'll show you how to grease the little knob itself and how to try to seal it back up to try to keep some moisture out of it. Now guys that are in the Northeast, the Rust Belt area, this is probably a good tip for you. If you're running these shocks, you're probably exposing the shocks to a lot more harsh environment than I am here in the Southeast. Here in the Southeast, basically just some mud and creek crossings occasionally is my biggest threat to the knob as far as getting moisture into it. So let's jump into this. I'll show you what I'm going to use to get this apart. It's a real simple, easy task. Let me show you some of the tools. Okay, some of the tools that we're going to use to do this job. We're going to try some silicone. It's kind of an RTV based silicone. I got some Yamabond here. I already used it on the front. We're going to try to use this on the gasket to seal it up a little bit better. A razor blade to help us kind of preserve the gasket. A little nylon brush, and I'll show you what we need that for. This is just basically kind of brushing away some debris that we may scrape away. I did find a little bit of rust particles and things collecting. Just maybe a small screwdriver. I use this one as just general purpose for scraping things. You will need a 1/8 inch Allen key, and whatever type of waterproof grease, or whatever you have at your disposal there. It doesn't have to be anything specific, but some kind of, at least a waterproof grease will be helpful. I also have a Sharpie, and what I like to do is I like to identify my markings on the shock and the knob for the settings, and I'll show you that later in the video. But this is some kind of basic stuff that you'll need. And before you get started, you may have to turn this. You see there's a little rib or marking identifier on each side of this knob, one here, one there, but you may just have to turn that just a little bit to get it kind of out of the way. And that is the adjustment knob. It is just a plastic assembly. You can run this all the way back up to the top. That's its normal position, number one. And this is just like a threaded type plunger. This actually looks pretty good in here. The ones up front had a lot of, down in this lower bottom right here, had pretty good bit of just some rust particles and whatnot collecting. But let's go ahead and we're just gonna gently try to scrape off this gasket. It's not stuck on there all that much. You can see it took a little bit of effort to get it off, but you can see some water is definitely kind of getting in behind it. But this is really clean compared to the ones up front that I had. And we'll just go ahead and give this a little bit of a clean up. Take a little brush, kind of brush some of the particles, a little debris out of there. Now the ones up front, I had to scrape a little bit. Might be a little bit of gunk right there, but I had to scrape just a little bit of crud out of the bottom of them right there. So now that we got that removed, and we'll have that kind of cleaned and prepped. You know, if you wanted to, you could take some contact cleaner and clean this out. I don't think it's really necessary. There's not really a whole lot you're going to find. Just a little bit of, typically where water settles down in here in the bottom is typically a little bit of some rust particles that you can scrape and clean out. So now what we want to do is we want to have the knob, it's basically at position number 1. We're just going to turn it. As you can see, it just tries to extend. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but it's just extending. We want to turn this about a turn and a half or so until this just slides off. And you can see it's got there's a little flat spot on it. There's a flat spot on the shaft. You can see this is, it's all plastic. It's completely dry. So what we want to do is we want to put some lubricant. We want to put a little lubricant on the threads, a little lubricant on the shaft, a little lubricant on the end, and a little bit of lubricant inside the pocket there. And that'll just help, one, keep the part moving freely, keep it from you know, freezing up on you, and a little bit of grease packed in here will just help with some of the moisture protection. So with my grease, I'm just going to put a little bit on the threads. I'm just using a waterproof, kind of a high temperature, high pressure bearing grease. Put some on the threads, and you can put that back on, line up the little flat spots. You can kind of twist the knob now and run the shaft back in. But we have the adjustment knob greased, and we have the adjustment knob back where number 1 and number 9 is pointing up. I know it's hard to see in the camera, but there is some small numbers on this adjustment knob. But 1 and 9 is pointing up. That's going to be our installation point when we put it back on. Now, when you go to take this off, obviously you could have returned this back to number 1 and 9, the all the way off position before we remove it. It's no big deal. But now what we're going to do, we're going to set that to the side. We are going to put a little bit of grease inside here, just as a moisture barrier. Just a little bit of grease in there. Try to keep it off of my gasket surface at the moment. I'm just going to put a little bit of this silicone on the back side of this gasket. If I have to, I'm just going to put like a little smudge right there. And I'll probably just kind of take this little screwdriver, kind of spread it around on the gasket. Obviously we don't want to use a ton of this stuff and it oozing out everywhere or inside the cavity. I don't think it'd hurt anything, but it's a small gasket. It's not going to take a lot of this silicone. I probably should have got some little gloves to do this. Once I'm happy with that and I get it coated, I'm just going to go ahead and stick that back on. Just to stick it there, get it out of the way. Now we'll do the same thing to the adjustment knob. So this is up. So we're going to take this little knob. We'll do the same thing. We're going to put just a little smudge on there. And we'll just take this and kind of give us a thin little coat. Now, we'll find out next time I go to service these how well this silicone actually helped keep moisture out. I'm not 100% convinced that it will, but it's got to be a little better, I think, than what it was. So that's coated pretty good. So now we'll go ahead and set that guy back up in there. Take the 2 little screws. And you may have to turn that just a little bit to get the little ridge out of the way. And they don't have to be super tight. This is just a plastic piece, so you're just gonna Snug those up. They wasn't very tight to start with. We'll put that back to position number 1, and you can take a little rag and kind of just wipe around if you want to, kind of clean some of that off if some of that silicone oozed out of there. Now what I like to do is, I do this pretty frequently, and you can see one of my old marks is about every 6 months or so I come under here and I kind of mark my starting point, and I mark the little adjustment knob. I'll kind of paint him. It just gives them, you know, I can eyeball these when I'm making adjustments a little easier. And I like to run these on number 5. So we're gonna turn this, we're at 1, it'll be 2, 3, 4, and then 5 will be straight down. So just a little reference point. Okay guys, so that's the video. Short and sweet, I hope. Also, make sure you drop a comment, make sure you subscribe, share this video. There may be some of your friends out there that need to know this information. And this is also some good information for you if you're getting ready to install or purchase these shocks. Even if you got them brand new and you haven't put them on the Jeep yet, this could be a good little service to go ahead and do this before you put them on the Jeep. Get that area prepped and prepared. But anyways, these shocks have been really great. I did a short little review on them. They're adjustable to 9 different positions depending on, you know, how heavy the Jeep is, how much cargo, if you're doing some light towing with it. These shocks have been performing great for the last year, and they make a great off-road shock and a great daily driver. But there is just a small hint of maintenance to that adjustment knob based on your usage and your environment. So hey guys, thanks again for watching, and make sure you subscribe.